Hello, greetings to all our followers of United States of Africa. We have been working towards the realization of United States of Africa vision, and United States of Africa is a vision that is possible, a vision that we can attain if we all young people come together and work towards social, economic, cultural, and political liberation of the African continent. We have so much power when united as an African nation. The Berlin Conference only served to divide Africa into very small countries that cannot even manage their own affairs. The recent news of Ghana giving in to U.S. pressure only shows to you that a nation without economic power is a nation that has not attained complete freedom and cannot decide independently on what it wants for its people. So therefore, we as African nation need to come together and stop imposing boundaries on other Africans from other African states. With the signing of inter-Africa trade, we need to remove these visa restrictions and also start working as a unified African nation to ensure that inter-Africa trade, the continental trade, free trade area benefits all Africans, and we cannot have a free trade agreement when people don't know how they're going to move, because there are a lot of visa restrictions imposed by one African nation against another, and this complicates even the businessmen and women who want to do business in Africa. For example, if somebody wants to do business in Rwanda and wants to trade with someone in South Africa, it becomes very complicated because there are so many visa restrictions, and even traveling by road, you'll encounter so many rules and regulations that are completely unnecessary. So we need to remove all these travel restrictions to ensure that Africans are able to move freely from one state to another, and in this way, then we'll be able to attain the vision of United States of Africa, because if we are able to move without any restrictions, then we are going to restore the Africa which was during the pre-colonial period, because pre-colonial Africa we used to move freely without any restrictions. If somebody was in Algeria and wanted to move to South Africa, that person could move without any restrictions. Greetings to all our viewers. Thank you for joining us. So we need to take action to implement the free trade agreement, and also ensure that we remove the colonial barriers that have been hindering the progress of Africa for decades. And this is very important because if we remove these colonial barriers, we'll be able to progress as a nation and address the challenges that we are facing. Many African nations have common problems. They are facing the same problems. The issue of national security of Africa can only be addressed if we are united as a nation. And if you want Africa to have a voice, then unification of Africa will ensure that we are given veto power at the United Nations, and we are able to block anything that goes against the wishes of the African people. And this way we are going to increase the voice of Africa, and we'll have one representative who will represent the African nation in any international conventions. And this will also save the budgets of each African state, sending a delegation to the United Nations and these conventions that are usually held because we'll just send one team from United States of Africa to represent Africa. And also the embassies, we are going to save the cost of embassies, because currently each African state has an embassy in foreign countries, and this is very costly. But if we are united, we have one currency and we have one military, then we save a lot of cost in security, in national security. We'll be able to create better weapons, and we'll be able to manage our security much more efficiently if we unite as an African nation. So it's very important. A unit of Africa is very important for us to realize complete liberation of the African continent and complete independence, which includes the economic independence of Africans at home and abroad. The vision of United States of Africa is not limited only in Africa. It's a global vision, bringing together all people of African descent under one political leadership, economic leadership, and in order to defend and protect the culture of people of African descent throughout the world. Our unity is very key in addressing the challenges that we have faced for the last 400 years after slavery. We are still undergoing systematic oppression by other races who view us as inferior, and the only way for us to challenge this narrative is coming together and building a prosperous nation that people will marvel at, the United States of Africa. If we can unite as an African nation, then we'll win respect, we'll earn respect from those who have been denigrating Africans and people of black descent. They'll be able to recognize our presence everywhere. And this is what we are struggling and fighting for. By reunification of all people of African descent or all people of black descent, we are seeking to reassert ourselves in a position that will win respect at global stage. And this is the only way to confront racism, if we come together as one people and one nation. People of African descent are the most diverse. We have people of African descent in Melanesia who have blonde hair, and this is natural. It has nothing to do with getting this feature from the white race or any other race. It's just natural. They have blonde hair and they are black people, and we have been fighting for their freedom because it affects us. Our freedom of West Papuans is freedom for the African people and the African nation. Therefore, we call upon African leaders to support the liberation struggles for the people of the Republic of West Papua. And it's only by demonstrating this solidarity that we'll be able to scare off Indonesians who have been oppressing and colonizing people of African descent in West Papua for over 50 years. And it's very unfortunate that the United Nations has failed completely to end the systematic human rights abuses in West Papua. Currently, as I speak now, Indonesia has deployed thousands of its troops in West Papua and restricted internet access to the people of West Papua, so that the world does not see the human rights violations undergoing in the people of West Papua undergoing at the moment. So we need to be their voice to speak for the indigenous people of West Papua. And in this respect, by standing for their freedom, we stand for our own liberation as a nation. We demand that Indonesia stops its occupation in West Papua. as soon as possible. So we demand they withdraw their military in West Papua and